Have you ever looked around and realized that kindness, the very thing you were taught to give freely, has started to cost you your peace? The truth is, as we grow older, especially after 70, what we give should be given wisely. Not everyone deserves your energy. Not everyone earns the right to your time. And some people, without even meaning to, drain the calm you've worked so hard to create. In this video, we're going to talk about 5 types of people you should never be kind to in old age. These aren't strangers. They're the ones who sit close, family, neighbors, even old friends. But if you don't recognize the damage they cause, you risk wasting the most precious thing you have left, your peace of mind. This is not about being cold or bitter. It's about reclaiming your space, about setting emotional boundaries that protect your well-being. Because in this chapter of life, peace isn't optional, it's essential. So if you're ready to take control of your emotional health and surround yourself with people who actually value you, stay with me. Like this video and subscribe for more wisdom on protecting your peace, your energy, and your happiness. Let's begin. Number 1, the constant taker. There's a certain kind of person who always seems to reach out, not to connect, not to care, but to ask. They don't call to share joy, or offer support, or simply to say hello. They call because they need something. A ride, a favor, a little of your time. At first it feels good to be needed, it feels like love. But over time you start to notice something. When it's your birthday, the phone stays quiet. When you're the one who's sick, no one checks in. These people don't show up unless there's something in it for them. And if you're over 70, you've likely already met one or many of them. Take someone like Evelyn, 74. She's always been the yes person in her family, babysitting grandkids, running errands, and loaning money that never comes back. For years, she told herself it was her role. That being helpful made her important. But the truth slowly surfaced in the quiet moments, when no one returned the favor, when no one asked how she was doing, when she realized she was seen only as useful, never as valuable. That realization didn't come like a lightning bolt. It came in little aches of loneliness that followed every unreciprocated act of kindness. The hardest part wasn't the asking, it was the guilt. Evelyn felt bad even thinking of saying no. She worried it would make her look selfish or cold. After all, she was the reliable one, the dependable one. That identity wrapped around her like a warm coat that eventually became suffocating. And here's the truth many elders carry quietly. We confuse being needed with being loved, but they are not the same. If your worth is measured only by what you can give, then your absence will never be mourned. Only your convenience will be missed. Being a giver is noble, but giving without return, without respect, becomes a form of self-neglect. Imagine pouring water into a cup that has a hole at the bottom. No matter how much you give, it will never fill. That's what it's like to give to a constant taker. Your energy, your time, and even your physical strength aren't endless resources. And in this season of life, they're treasures you must protect with intention. So if you found yourself always saying yes to someone who never gives back, it's time to step back. You are allowed to say no. You are allowed to choose peace over obligation. Not because you're bitter, but because you're wise. This stage of life isn't about being endlessly useful. It's about being deeply valued. Comment 1 if this resonated with you, and feel free to share your story or thoughts below. You're not alone, and your peace matters. Number 2, the chronic critic. There's a quiet kind of pain that comes not from raised voices or cruel insults, but from the soft, steady drip of criticism disguised as concern. The chronic critic rarely shouts. They don't slam doors or start arguments. Instead, they offer their opinions like gifts you never asked for, comments on your clothes, your choices, your past. They call it honesty. They call it love. But each word lands like a pinprick, small on its own, but over time they bruise the spirit. And if you're over 70, chances are you felt this kind of sting, especially from someone close. That's what makes it harder to name. It doesn't feel like abuse, but it slowly teaches you to question yourself. It steals the joy from your wins and replaces it with doubt. Think of someone like Walter, 77. Every Sunday he visits his sister just as he always has. He brings her pastries from the market, checks her garden, and helps her fix little things around the house. But every visit ends the same way. A remark about how he looks tired, how he should have never sold the house, how he takes things too personally. At first he smiled through it. He told himself she meant well, but now he hesitates before each visit. He second-guesses his decisions more often. And when he's alone, he sometimes hears her voice more than his own. This is the real damage. Not the words themselves, but the erosion of self-trust, the slow rewriting of your story in someone else's tone. It's a trap many older adults fall into, believing that enduring criticism is just part of staying connected. We tell ourselves that it's harmless, that we're too sensitive, that family comes with flaws. But here's the truth. If someone always makes you feel wrong, small, or broken, that isn't love, it's erosion. Constant criticism wears down. Your peace like water wears stone. It doesn't need to be loud to be dangerous. Over time, it silences your instincts, your voice, your sense of joy. You don't need to justify who you are anymore. You don't need to please anyone who can't meet you with acceptance. Being kind doesn't mean being available for judgment. And no one, no matter how close, has the right to shrink your spirit to make themselves feel big. You are allowed to protect your peace. You've earned that right with every year you've lived, so if someone's words leave you feeling less instead of more, it's okay to step back. Comment too if this spoke to you, and feel free to share how you've learned to stand up for your own peace. You deserve to feel safe in your own skin, always. Number 3, the guilt tripper. There's a certain heaviness that settles in your chest when someone makes you feel wrong for simply protecting your time. The guilt tripper doesn't scream or accuse. They sigh, they pause, they drop subtle hints that make you question yourself. Their sentences begin with, "I guess I thought," or end with, "But that's fine, I understand." But the silence that follows isn't peace, it's punishment. And the worst part? They know exactly what they're doing. If you're over 70, you've likely faced this form of manipulation, especially from people who claim to love you the most. It's quiet, it's calculated, and it leaves you doubting whether you're allowed to care for yourself at all. Take someone like Lorraine, 79, who spent her entire life showing up for her extended family. When her niece asked her to drive across town to help babysit on a day she had her own doctor's appointment, Lorraine said no, softly, respectfully. The next day, no calls came, no updates, just silence. Then, a message. "I just thought family would be there for each other." Those words lingered in Lorraine's mind all night, not because they were true, but because they struck at something deeper, the fear of being seen as unloving. That fear made her question her own boundaries, even when they were set for survival. Many older adults carry the weight of being the peacemaker. We were taught to be generous, to be available, to be selfless, and over time we confuse guilt with responsibility. We think that saying no is selfish. But here's the wake-up call. Love built on guilt is not love. It's leverage. You are not put on this earth to be a permanent solution to someone else's discomfort. If someone needs you to say yes all the time to feel close, then they were never seeing the real you, only the version that served them. Letting someone down isn't the same as letting yourself go. You don't need to apologize for needing rest, for choosing quiet, for drawing a line. Your emotional energy isn't a free resource, it is sacred, and protecting it isn't an act of defiance, it's an act of self-respect. You are not cold for stepping back. You are not cruel for reclaiming your peace. This stage of life is not about giving endlessly. It's about living fully with clarity and dignity. So if you've been carrying guilt like a second skin, maybe it's time to shed it. Comment 3 below if this part of the message speaks to you, and feel free to share your story, because your voice matters and so does your well-being. Number 4, the secret competitor. Some people don't criticize you openly or ask too much of your time. Instead, they stand quietly beside you, smiling on the surface while secretly measuring their worth against yours. The secret competitor isn't always loud or obvious. They may even call themselves your friend. But every compliment they give carries a twist. Every story they tell seems just a little better than yours, and over time, you start to feel like you're not being seen, you're being compared. When you're over 70, you want connection, not competition. You want to be celebrated, not sized up. Take Diane, 76, who decided to join a watercolor group after years of putting her creativity on hold. She had always loved painting, but never pursued it seriously. When she started showing her work, a long-time acquaintance, Linda, joined the same class. Linda never missed a chance to praise Diane's pieces, but always with an edge. "That's so bold for someone your age," or "I admire how free your style is, even if it breaks the rules." At first, Diane brushed it off, but week after week, the comments kept coming. Slowly, her excitement faded. She began hiding her work and doubting whether she belonged there at all. This is how subtle rivalry works. It creeps in quietly and convinces you to dim your light, not because you're not good enough, but because someone else is uncomfortable with your shine. And when you care deeply about being polite, humble, or accepted, it's easy to overlook the damage until it's already been done. For many older adults, especially women, we've been conditioned to shrink ourselves so others can feel tall. We think modesty means silence, but here's the truth. If someone can't celebrate you without comparing themselves, it's not friendship. It's quiet warfare. You have every right to grow, to thrive, and to glow without feeling guilty. You don't owe anyone a smaller version of yourself. You've worked too long and lived through too much to let someone else's insecurity dictate your joy. Friendship isn't a scoreboard. True connection lifts you. It doesn't hold you down. If someone claps louder only when they've outdone you, maybe it's time to step away and protect the sacred ground you've cultivated. You deserve to be around people who make you feel warm, safe, and proud, not those who make you second-guess every step forward. Comment 4 if this resonated with you, and share your experience with quiet competition. Your story may be the reminder someone else needs to reclaim their light. Number 5. The passive-aggressive manipulator. There's a kind of person who doesn't raise their voice, doesn't argue, and never openly disrespects you. Instead, they smile through their sarcasm, joke through their jabs, and hide their hostility behind phrases like, "I didn't mean anything by it," or "You're reading too much into it." The passive-aggressive manipulator is hard to spot because they've mastered the art of pretending. On the surface, they seem polite, even warm, but their comments leave a lingering discomfort, the kind that makes you question if you're overreacting. When you're in your 70s or beyond, your peace becomes sacred, and anyone who stirs that peace while pretending they didn't touch it is someone you should no longer be kind to. Consider Harold, 83, who's lived in the same neighborhood for decades. His neighbor Tom waves, smiles, and makes small talk like any friendly face would. But when Harold mentioned struggling to move a few flower pots in the yard, Tom chuckled and said, "Well, you're not 20 anymore. I'd help, but I'd rather keep my knees intact." He laughed. Harold smiled back. But later, as he sat alone, that comment echoed louder than expected. It wasn't just about knees, it was about dismissing Harold's worth. Over time, Tom's jokes, his delays in responding to messages, and his backhanded compliments created a space where Harold didn't feel safe being vulnerable. This is what passive aggression does. It rewires the way you show up in your own life. You start shrinking, avoiding confrontation, and walking on emotional eggshells. You tell yourself it's not worth the fight. But here's the truth. If someone's words make you uncomfortable, that matters. If their silence feels like punishment, it probably is. Older adults often carry the belief that it's better to keep the peace than disrupt it. But fake peace is not real peace. And someone who forces you to sacrifice your comfort to preserve theirs is not being kind. They're being controlling. You've lived long enough to know that real kindness doesn't come with confusion. It doesn't come dressed in sarcasm or cloaked in avoidance. You are not too sensitive. You are simply responding to energy that was never gentle to begin with. The more years behind you, the more you've earned the right to draw clear lines. You don't have to explain. You don't have to argue. You only have to choose, is this person helping you feel calm, or are they quietly draining you? If your answer feels heavy, it's time to step back. Comment 5 if this resonated with you, and share your story below, because your truth deserves to be heard without being mocked, and your peace is far too precious to be left in the hands of someone who keeps pretending they're joking. Conclusion. As we grow older, the need to protect our peace becomes more than a suggestion. It becomes a form of survival. In this stage of life, your energy is sacred, your time is limited, and your emotional clarity is worth more than ever. The truth is, not everyone deserves access to your heart. Some people take more than they give, drain more than they pour, and leave behind more noise than support. And the older you get, the less room there is for emotional clutter. Whether it's the constant taker, the chronic critic, the guilt tripper, the secret competitor, or the passive-aggressive manipulator, each one of them has a way of disrupting your inner calm. But you have the power to choose differently. You can set boundaries with wisdom. You can say no without guilt. You can walk away from conversations that steal your peace of mind. Your later years are not about fixing broken people. They're about building a quieter, more intentional life, one grounded in self-respect, emotional discipline, and clarity. So take a moment to reflect. Who in your life needs to be loved from a distance? If this message spoke to you, share your experience in the comments below. Your story may help someone else reclaim their peace and remind them they're not alone.